J Baba, folks. This is another time with Arsenio Rodriguez, who had many short visits in India with Mandali, uh, and because he traveled there on business, and he was just explaining to me how this occurred, so I'll just let him continue. Arsenio.
I know I used to work when I was young with the United Nations for many years, about 30 years. And some of my work took me to, some of it took me directly to India, but most of the time I had to go to East Africa. And as you know, East Africa is only a mere 4.5, 4 hours by jet plane from Mumbai. So, and I was at that time living in Mexico City, or sometimes also in Geneva. So anytime that I was in Africa, I would go, I would plan my work trips so that I could spend my weekend in India. And that was how I managed to visit between, I think, 1977 and first time in India was in 1974. But at that time, it was not part of this. At that time, at 75, I took some time. But between 1977 and 2005, I went to India probably 38 to 40 times. But all very short terms. Most of those times were only for 2, 3 days. I might have taken a couple of days for off my work, and I would have stayed 4 days. But the typical period was the weekend. I just went there for a weekend or a long weekend. So I was just peaking at this place, which was so incredible. And I had the advantage that I was not suffering from jet lag because I was in East Africa. So the time difference between East Africa and India was only 2 hours. So it was not such a bad thing. So I was completely, I mean, I did arrive there and I spent my time, and somehow Baba gave me exactly what I needed in those 2, 3 days that I spent. And so this is where I collected that little pieces of stories that I heard that were fascinating. And that still now they're giving me the opportunity here to narrate them to you, but I'm actually narrating them to me because I'm remembering them. I mean, it's not something that you do all the time. They are in my memory, but by the time that I start telling them to somebody else, I relive them. And it is an amazing thing. Those days were, what is that, your old song? Those were the days we thought would never end.
Right.
Were amazing. They were just amazing. To be in the world and all of a sudden be pulled into that world where everything was different. Everything was different while being the same. That is what amazed me the most. It was like the whole thing. There were things within you that opened up, which were not opening up when I was back here. Just all of a sudden, poof! So it was a beautiful time. So I mean, I don't know. I had this opportunity, and I really loved it. Uh, I know that prior, as I was telling you before, first time that I participated here, I think you asked me to tell you the story of how what was my first time in India, or how did I come to Baba? I can't remember. But
Mhm.
I know I mentioned some of the on the margins because it's all related. I mentioned some of these experiences. So I would like to make sure that you let me know if I already uh, I'm telling something to you that is already being told, because I don't want to be repetitive. I mean, I know there were so many moments, but I cannot remember. That's my problem now with my old age. Which ones did I share before and which ones I haven't?
I think if what comes up, honestly, those stories I could hear again and again. If it comes up for you, tell it, and I'll, but please, that, yeah.
Well, one of the stories that I have here, Mark, but I don't know, this is one particularly which I don't know if I did tell, is that uh, my first posting with the United Nations was in Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island in the Caribbean. This is southernmost island of the Caribbean arc, just in front of Venezuela. Uh, I was there for 3, 4 years, and it was kind of rough on me because I was traveling a lot. I was just recently married. This was my second marriage, and, and Julie, my wife, was pregnant, but I was traveling probably 60% of the time, going because I was with the UN, so I had to visit all of the governments of Latin America, and I had to go to Europe, and I was traveling. I was living my life in an airplane, so I was not very happy. And I'm telling you this story because it has actually it impressed me a lot. So one day, um, I was very upset. I was upset with my father. Actually, I had these photographs of him in my house, being a double over. There was one particular photograph, the ancient one photograph, and I was angry at him. I was not looking at the photos, and the photos were there, but they are like old photos that you have. Sometimes people, we all have photos of the family in the house, but you don't look at them. They are there. You don't look at them like, certainly not with the the way that a person in love looks at a photograph of somebody in love that they are missing. They are just there. I was angry at him. I would ask him to help me because I was traveling so much and I didn't like to leave my wife alone. At that time we had a little girl also. So, well, there was no response. So I got very angry. And my anger was beginning to come out in my personality. So my wife one day, we sat in the porch. There was one of those porches with a rocket chair. And I remember we were sitting there and she told me like this. She said, why, why don't you go to India? You're not the man that I married. Why don't you go to India and get your act together? Uh, and I was very angry at her. And I said to her, what? Going back to India? After do you think anything that I do is in an airplane? I hate airplanes. I hate traveling. I hate airports. Now we are in Trinidad. You know how far Trinidad is from India? You know how far? You know, I said, I cannot do that. You're insane. So I became very angry. Now, the poor thing, my wife, I mean, she went to bed bad again, and I went to bed, and that night I had a dream. And
Oh,
this is what I wanted to tell. This was in my house in Trinidad and Tobago. There was a bedroom, the bed, and in front of the bed, there was a door that entered to the bathroom associated with the master bedroom. And I'm dreaming, this is a dream. Now I'm dreaming, I'm in the bed, and I'm looking at that doorway. And there's this man, this figure of this man, which is leaning against the frame of the door with his back towards me. But I sensed something familiar in this thing in the dream. And then all of a sudden, his figure turns around and he's Meher Baba. And he says to me, and he doesn't speak, but he says to me, but I understand it in my mind. He says to me, Arsenio, long time no see. And I said, my response to him, I cannot say it on television or here, was I did tell him lots of very foul words, very, very terrible words that in my life I'm so ashamed. But I said to him, you, this, you, and that, you, I've been calling you for that almost 1 year, and you're and all he did in this dream, only in the dream, he was turning pink with laughter. He was not making any noise, but I could see him going like that, laughing. And then all of a sudden he put his hand like that, and he said to me, and I understood, but it was all gestures, but I understood, I heard the voice in my mind. He said to me, don't worry, you will feel me very soon. And I woke up next morning. I remember the dream, but I realized now it was a dream. But it was a significant dream, but I didn't know what to do with it. Now I go in my car, go to the office, which is in downtown Port of Spain. That was the capital of Trinidad. And I go to my office, and in my office, my secretary is waiting for me, and she says to me, you have a urgent telex, or telexes were used at that time, urgent telex from Geneva. You have to be in Geneva day after tomorrow. They want you to be there for 3 days. I said, oh God. So I went all downtrodden back home that afternoon, and I told Julie I have to go to Geneva for 3 days. And she said to me, you know, if you have to go to Geneva for 3 days, my wife, she used to work with the Eastern Airlines before we married, and in the tariffs department. That Eastern Airlines, remember, it was an airline that existed before. So she said, since you have to go to San Juan, which is where we are from, Puerto Rico, you can stop, and my friends, they will reissue your ticket, and you can go to India for free, because it's such a, I know, because he knew our tariffs. If you can go for free. So I said, but I did. So I went to Geneva, and I continued to India for free. But there in India, I didn't really want to be there, but I was there. I tell you, I was walking up the hill. My legs were made of lead. I, I didn't want to go up the hill. remember still now that at that moment when I got to the samadhi, I've never in my life done that. I just went flat down on in front of the tomb, flat down. I didn't bow down. I just I lied down,
Uh-huh.
full body in front of the tomb. I never felt more capable to surrender, whatever
Ah.
it is that you surrender, than that day that I was in India without me wanting to go. But who I got an invitation, and the 7 days that I stayed there, because I stayed there that time for 7 days, it was bliss. I've never
Ah.
felt anything like that. This is the time that I felt Baba most strongly in my heart. And I did remember the dream. He said, don't worry, you will feel soon. So I went to see Adi, who was at that time alive. And he said, oh, well, where are you? What have you been? I told him, I'm in Trinidad and Tobago, living now there. And he said to me, he called, I think it was Jack Small. I think it was Jack Small. He said to Jack Small, Jack, he said to me, do you have a sadra for the group in Trinidad? And I said, oh, Adi, there's no group in Trinidad. It's only me, my wife, and my kid. And, she's suspected, so we're going to be four in all, but there's no group. No, no, no. So he said, yeah, do you have a sadra for the group in Trinidad? I said, Adi, there's no group in Trinidad. So he said, Jack, could you get Arsenio Woolman is my mother's sadra, and give it to him for the group in Trinidad? I, he's deaf or something. I don't know what's happening. So he gave me this sadra. Now here am I with this sadra, which must have been very special to him because it belonged to his mother, and his mother was very close to Baba. And he gave the sadra to me for the group in Trinidad, but there was no group in Trinidad. So I get back home and very totally different. No, not all of the photographs are now alive. Baba is in my heart again. And I go to Trinidad. But one thing did happen. I had the ancient one photograph, a big one that I have purchased. I can't remember when. And it was in this part of the living room. And there was a little light that was on top of it. And you could turn it on, and at night it was beautiful. Now the light fell into the picture. But the light went off. I changed the bulb. It still didn't work. So I started fiddling around and I couldn't fix it. So we were renting that house. So I called the renter. And the renter came, and he was an Indian fellow because, Trinidad and Tobago, half of the population is from India. They are migrants from India. So, and his name was Mr. Khan. So Mr. Khan came in to fix the light. So he says, well, which light is it? I said, there. And then he looked and he said, oh, that's Mary Baba. I said, oh.
Oh.
I said, do you know Mary Baba? He said, well, no, I've gotten ahead of him. I don't know him. But my chiropractor in downtown, he has the same photograph behind his desk.
Oh my.
So I said, wait a moment. What did you have your? Of course I have his phone. So I called the chiropractor, and the chiropractor was a man called Leary Graham. And Leary Graham was a Trinidadian Canadian who had lived in Canada many years and was a very good, very close friend of some woman called Stella Dufresne. I think that I'm pronouncing it right. And Stella was one of the best friends of Kitty Davy.
Oh my goodness.
Kitty Davy, and Stella had met Papa, and Kitty Davy, when she went to her breaks that he took from the center, he would go to Montreal to visit Stella. I think Montreal. So now the thing is that uh, I called Neely Graham. I say Jai Baba to him on the phone. He said, "What, Jai Baba?" So we met. Found out that this man, I don't know if you have ever seen this medal that was done by of Baba, which is like a coin with Baba's engraved figure. And the
Yeah.
man who did that was actually was the wife of the man that did that was Louis Agostini. Now, Louis Agostini was the secretary of Paul Brunton. Paul Brunton was the guy that wrote a book against Meher Baba back in the times of his 30s or 40s, whatever. Paul Brunton was his secretary, but he became a Baba lover. And Paul Brunton was born in Trinidad. And Paul Brunton had placed, even remember he told me, not Paul Brunton, Louis Agostini had, because he was born in Trinidad, when he became a Baba lover, he placed God Speaks and Discourses in every public library in all of the former British colonies in the Caribbean, all of the public libraries. So, and his cousin, nephew, Louis, not Louis Agostini, Colin Agostini, was still living in Trinidad. So, with Lily Graham and Colin Agostini, we convened the first meeting of Baba lovers in Trinidad and Tobago. And probably about 15 to 20 people came.
Wow.
But amongst the most interesting person that came was this black Trinidadian who was a Baptist minister who sat with me on the porch, same porch that I was sitting with Julie that night. And he said to me, I asked him, so how did you become a Baba lover? When did you? And he said, "Oh, I have to confession to make to you. I'm a Baptist minister, and I just got this book of the discourses of Meher Baba, which I found in the public library, and I copied it. And this is why I hope there's no transgression of copyright. But this is what I use every Sunday in my sermons to the brethren. And I love it and they love it. I never mention his name, but I say all that he says. So I don't know if you can call me whatever you want to call me, but I love what he says, but I don't know who he is.
Oh my. Oh my.
All of this took me back to India, to when Adi told me, take the Sadra to the group in Trinidad. And I dared to say to him, there's no group in Trinidad, but there was a group in Trinidad. I just didn't know it. So the amazing thing to me is how these things evolve and take place without you. It's like a spontaneous thing. It's like a virus. I mean, no, I mean, I could never understand that. I still today. It was weird how that happened. Starting from that thing, from my light bulb in the ancient one, the dream, those things. So I remember that. That's one of the stories I wanted to share. with you.
That's
But
a beautiful story about the Baptist minister. That's just beautiful. And
yeah,
he stole.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I still don't know uh, whatever happened because, of course, I was there. The postings of the United Nations were usually for 3 or 4 years. So we arrived there in 1977 and we left in 1980. Uh, uh, and that's another story that has to do with the Sadra. Uh, but in between, there are also several stories that have to do with Trinidad and Tobago. But I don't know. You tell me what to
uh,
stop.
sure. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Number one, was your wife Julie a Baba lover?
Sure. She's
Okay.
not a Baba lover, but she's a very strange one because, contrary to me, who was a very arrogant young man that thought he knew everything about everything and was a scientist, materialist, intellectual guy, atheist, I thought, or agnostic at least. Born as a Catholic, but became an atheist at 13, 14 years of age. But when I uh, found out about Baba, I read all of his books first, and I challenged him, and I found him. It was so Maryland. Now, Julie, when I met her, uh, she told me that she didn't want to know. We fell in love, and she told me I am an atheist. She told me, yeah, okay. And then she said I was at that time a Baba lover, and she said I don't want to hear anything about this Meher Baba person that you follow. I respect you for it. And please, because at that time I used to have many photographs of him. I said, yeah, I don't want my house, she said, to be saturated with the pictures of this man. So I negotiated and I kept one photograph only, which is that at that time. But in 19, she used to work for the airlines, as I told you. So in 1975 or 76, yes, 76, uh, I have just, she, she said, I have some passes, some free passes. Do you want, there's any place that you want to go? And I talked to her about the center here. I said, yeah, she will go. I mean, I thought it's a nice place. You don't have to do anything. You just stay in your cabin if you want. So we came here and I stayed at the, remember the name of the cabin, the farm shed, which is a beautiful one, looking at the lake like that. And I went out for a walk. I had not been here for, I don't know, 6 years or something like that. So I went for a walk and she also went for a walk, but separately. I didn't realize. So when I came back, I felt not. She was kind of moved. I said, "What happened to you?" I said, "I just went for a walk and I felt." I mean, she said to me, she pointed at the arm and she said, "I felt as if somebody passed by me with this garment and had, you know, I felt this garment in my arm and it was so intense, so beautiful. I don't know what happened. Because of that, she didn't say anything else. But then uh, later that year, she got some passes again, free passes, and but to travel internationally. So she was very happy and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Let's go to India." So we flew to India, first class, first class, to tropical first class. We went to India and we stayed there 2 weeks, 1977. And I didn't talk to her at all about Nepal, at all, at all. went there, we arrived. She still had not read anything about that. I still remember because one day I came out of Baba's room in Merasan, and I think it was the day that we were saying goodbye, and she was kissing the hands of Mera, and she was weeping.
Oh.
And then I also remember because I had been married before, and my first wife was also a Baba lover. So when I first, I mean, these are the times, those times, that many Baba lovers were getting a divorce and remarried. And for the Mandali, I remember, not only that, I used to be at some time in point in time with my first wife, we were the sort of like the conveyors, I don't know what you call that, the points. If it was in our place, the Baba meetings were held. So we were like a quote unquote representatives. I don't know what you call that, the people that were gathering, we were the focal point for the Baba rovers in Puerto Rico. So now, when I went to India with another wife, I felt weird.
Mm.
My old Catholic upbringing came back to my mind. So I felt very weird, and I said, oh God. So after all these things, I see Mera, Julie kissing Mera's hand. And then we go say goodbye to Eruch, who was in the Mandali Hall. And now he is embracing Julie, also beautifully. And he, over his shoulder, and his room was full of people, over her shoulder, he says to me, Arsenio, we're so happy that you brought her.
Oh.
So, and she actually caused me a great deal of embarrassment because when we moved to Trinidad, I had to, because of my work, I had to bring in people from government and stuff like that, just business people to the house. And now we have the house full of, so they would say to me, if they ask me, now who's this man? And I said, oh, he's a philosopher from India, da, da, da. And if they would ask Julie, she would say, he's God. And it, it was like I said, oh my God, it was fantastic to me. So that was the way that it was. She is a Baba lover, probably more than I am.
Wow.
And she has never read anything about Baba.
Ah.
Yeah, she's,
Uh,
yeah, anyhow.
so yes, you said you had some more stories about the Sadra. What do you think? Tell us.
Yeah, the Sadra. Let me tell you about the Sadra. Now, that Sadra that Adi gave to me, but it will be treated that. After we were leaving, I realized that there was something strange because some of these people in the group, I will mention names, but they were not, a lot of them were into sort of also interested in sort of occult things,
Mm-hmm.
persecution stuff. And I intuitively I felt that it was so I didn't know what to do, whether to leave the Sadra with them, because I knew for some reason that it was something special. And I called Kitty on the phone, and she told me, take it with you. Well, we were going then to Switzerland. That was in our next station. She said, you take it with you and leave them. And I also had some other stuff, things that Mansari had given me, some of of these things that were laid on Papa's tomb. I had some other things. So I left them something. But she said, the Sadra is very special. Take it with you. So I took with me to Switzerland. And then eventually I was transferred from Switzerland to Mexico City. And I took it to Mexico. But when I was moving to Mexico, by this time already Adi had died, passed away. And then one day, Jack Small, he calls me when I'm in India, one of my short visits. He says, I want you to give me back the sadra that we gave you. And, so that, because we want to give it to somebody else. And I said, "Oh." It was fine, but I said, but you know, I somehow felt that I had to check this out with Manny.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to see Manny, and she was at the trust office. At that time, I was, you know, was a high-level bureaucrat with the United Nations. So I went to see her, and jokingly, she had such a good sense of humor. I said to her, I'm not here to talk to the sister of the Avatar or Mandali or whatever. I am here to talk to you as the chairman of the trust.
Mm.
And she went up and she said, have a seat. So I sat down and I said to her, Manny, look, this thing is the following. I was given this by Adi. It was a very special thing. Now Jack is asking me for it, but I want to know if this is the right thing to do. Because Adi was the one that gave it to me. So he says that, but the part where you trust, because they want to give it away to somebody else, and you are the chairman of the trust, you have to tell me. And she said, let me think about this. So I was there 2 days or 3 days. On the second day, I was walking in Terasat Garden, and she calls me, Arsenio, I have something to talk to you. And we sat in one of those green benches there in the garden. She looks at me and she said, I've decided, as chairman of the trust, that you should take this ladder until you die.
Oh.
After you die, bring it to the trust. I said to her, Manny, I can't commit myself when I am still in this state. But to do something after I die. And she looked at me, she winked her eye, and she said to me, you'll figure it out. So of course it's in my will. I already set aside some money for one of my sons or daughters to go to India and take this other when I die. But she said to me, you keep it. It was given to you for some reason. You keep it. Wherever you are, you take it. When you die, you return it to the trust. So that's the story of the Sadra, which I still don't know what is that. But it's there. Something that happened.
What were the second words? I didn't quite catch what the second time she said. What was it that she said to you? You just well.
When she was talking to me in
Yes,
the
yes,
garden.
yes. Uh-huh.
She said, when you die, bring it to the trust.
Right.
When you die, bring it to the trust. And I
Right.
said, yeah, but how am I going to do that now? And she was, I, she was such a ah, delightful, full of humor person that I remember I said, I don't know, I have to figure out something because I have been told the gossip is in the air. I have been told that next lifetime you're going to be a perfect master. So I don't want to deal with having the disappointed the wishes of a perfect master
Oh,
because that's what Papa said, or somebody said, I don't know.
uh,
Somebody said that Papa said that she was going to be a perfect master in her lifetime. I don't know. But anyhow, she was a perfect person for me. I never met people like her. She was amazing. She was amazing. Such a beautiful, sweet, and joyful, and good
mhm.
person.
So what was her response when you said, I can't, what did you, when you said, I'm,
She said, you will figure it out. So I did. So, at that time, I didn't know. But yeah,
Wow.
there's Andre Powell.
Yeah, he's, yeah, he's coming early. Alan, you're coming at the,
Power on. Bluetooth pairing.
Alan, right? I'm,
Bluetooth connected.
Arsenio and I are just finishing up his hour. So,
Hi, Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You
I'll
seem
just
good.
let's go continue.
he's talking about Baba's Sadra, uh, which he had for a while. Is there a continuing story about the Sadra, Arsenio?
Well, no, right there, the sun is still there with me. And it's been there with me now since 1977. But the thing is that what was important for me was how that Sadra somehow caused that congregation in Trinidad and Tobago to take place. After that, uh, it's been there with me, but the magic that it did, I think, in my mind, the symbol of it was to gather the people around. Later, then I went to live in Geneva, but of course, there I met Irene Bilo and those people. They had not one, but 10 sadras, and they lived with each other. So it was not a major thing to have my sadra was there. But, it's been a thing. Yeah. Now, the other story that I have with Trinidad and Tobago, I think I mentioned it to you before. I can't remember. It was about which is part of the Sadra, actually, story. It was about Heather. Heather, my secretary, not Heather neighbor. Heather, who, I don't know if I told this story, who was my secretary, and she went with us to India, uh, not because she was a Baba person, but because she was a young woman, actually a very sassy young woman. And but she loved us. She loved Julie. She loved the kids. Actually, she would do babysitting for us. So she was very close to us. So when we went to India one time, she decided to go with us. And we arrived in India, and and I mean, she was happy there because she was a happy person and a good person, but she could not understand, the bowing down in the tomb, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So then we go to Mandali Hall the first time. And Eruch, of course, seeing her new, he sees her and says, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm her." "And why are you here?" Because of course, say, we know Arsenio and Julie, yes. And then he said to her, "So what do you, how are you feeling?" Eruch asked her, and he said, "Well, it's beautiful. There's a lot of love here. I can feel it. I don't understand why people are bowing down to a stone. Honestly, it's not something that comes easy to my mind to understand that." And then Eruch told her, do, do you have, do you go to the matinee in the cinema?" And Heather said, she looked strangely at him and she said, "Yes, yes. Matinee in the afternoon. I mean, you are in Trinidad, there's a Caribbean every side. So that means there's a lot of sunlight. And you're inside the theater, you're watching this film, and all of a sudden you come out after the film ends. What do you do when you come out of the cinema in the middle of the afternoon after being there in the dark for 2 hours?" Eruch said to her, "You go like that, eyes open. It's a reflex," he said to her. He said, "You have to do like that because there's too much light. So you cover your eyes somehow." She said to her, when when you meet somebody like Bob, some people, they see that. And he said to her, "It's such a blessing that we have a flexible spine because otherwise we would break in two."
Ah.
That's what he said. Now she heard that, but it didn't do much to her. She went around in the garden. He called her nicknamed her Sport because she was so sassy. So he called her Sport. So every time Eruch, in those 2 weeks that we were there at that time, every time Eruch would go to tell a story, he would look around like that and he would say, "Where's Sport?" And people said, "She's in the garden, go get her, go get her." And he would get her, she would come in and say, there you are. I couldn't start my story without you here, Sport. Sit down. And she would sit down in front of it and he would tell the story. And that went on like that. So the last day that we were there, Eruch asked her, "So Heather, Sport," she said, "Sport, you have been here now for 2 weeks. How are you feeling now?" And she said, "Well, I I feel that there's a lot of love here. I've never felt love like this anywhere in my life. I still have things that I don't understand." Eric said, "Like what?" "Well, in my house, we love my grandmother very much, but we have one photograph of her or two, the piano, one in the kitchen, or something like that. But I mean, when I walk out to the veranda here in Mandali Hall," she said, "there's 20 photographs of Benebaba. There are photographs of Benebaba in all walls. I mean, and I don't understand why so many photographs." And Eruch looked at her and she said, "I know, but that's our weakness, your weakness. Because we are so feeble-minded that we cannot realize that we don't need not only 20 photos, one photo, because he is in this piece of paper, he's in the wall, he's more importantly, my heart is in you, is in me, is everywhere. But we are so blind, we are so weak that we can see. So this is the truth. What you're seeing is our weakness. So at uh, that time it was a time for us to go. So he said, uh, well, time to go. So we stand up and we start embracing each other. And he said to her, like she was in front of me, sport, the game is over. And Heather broke into
Your
tears.
turn turns up.
Oh,
Am I on this?
No, I don't know.
Gosh, honey. Alan?
excuse me, Jim, we are just finishing up. These two programs are back to back.
Oh,
We're
I see. Okay. No problems.
Shay Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Anyhow, gave was one.
Shay Baba.
That's Hannah Peterson. You might know Hannah Arsenio.
Huh?
Of course I know
Arsenio.
Arsenio Rodriguez and his wife and family. Arsenio, I love you.
I love you. I love you, and I know you since the beginning of the earth.
I know.
Come to the camera.
Punchy and baby.
I know that. I know who Anna is.
It probably wasn't the best strategy to plan these so close together, but we have. Hey, Hannah, come on, let us see you.
What?
Come and see. You have to come and
Hi,
see.
Hannah.
Now I can see.
Oh my God, Arsenio and you. Oh my God, I'm so lucky. I won't take up more moments.
I'm glad we got to see you.
I'm so glad.
Jai Baba. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Well, this will be a hard. We have a few more moments. Arsenio, is there anything that comes to your mind about?
I'm happy that somehow this is because of this guy here, this guy to your left, or like my left, Alan, whatever. He
Alan?
was
Louder.
he cornered me in at the center one day.
On the Mayor
He-
Center?
He was the one that introduced me to this crazy idea of seeing you people and sharing these stories and listening to your stories. And there's nothing more beautiful in the world than to share the stories of what has happened to you. Meher Baba. I just asked ChatGPT the other day, how many lovers of Meher Baba are in the United States? And the estimate, the closest estimate that ChatGPT says is between 10 to 15,000 people. It's a beautiful thing, you know. We are still a small group, a very small group. There are much more Baptists in the United States than Baba lovers in the United States. So I'm so happy to share with, I don't know, 1/500 of the population through here, and the stories, and listen to you and look at you. And anybody who has met these beautiful people called the Mandali,
Evangelist?
it's like the virus. They have the virus. They have the virus.
They have the virus? The
They
Baba
have-
virus?
The Baba virus. That's all what you have. You're all contaminated and you don't know it.
Arsenio,
Yes.
you are so young. You look so
Oh.
young.
This one I know very well. The one that's coming now. I know her. Oh my God, I don't know that woman.
Debbie Hanna Peterson.
But this is
I don't think he remembers me.
Terry.
How
Terry,
could he not
what are you doing
remember?
here? You're my neighbor. You're not supposed to be on TV.
Terry.
Oh, Arsenio. I'm so happy to see your face.
Oh, it's
I
good
don't
to
have
see
to say
you.
anything.
I've seen her in person. I saw her in person the other day, about 2 days ago.
I
Uh,
remember Jim coming, leaving Maribod, and we drove in a
You?
taxi in a car, yeah,
My Jim?
to Bombay, yeah. And you were with your son, and I was with my son.
Oh my
Wow.
God, you remember that?
I don't remember what year it was, but way back,
96 or 99?
something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because let's see, my son was, yeah, 7 at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I took my son at age 7 too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jim Myers and my son.
Yeah.
well, Arsenio, we have like 3 minutes. We a little farewell to this meeting. And the next meeting, I'll tell you, Arsenio, you may want to know, is Jim Peterson's story of meeting Pukar. That's how you and I got started with this whole series of yours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Arsenio has a wonderful story.
Really.
Invited Pukar to his home in Puerto Rico for a week. So
What? Puerto Rico? No.
Pukar flew from Florida to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and stayed with Arsenio. So that's the theme of the next meeting that's happening is people with Pukar stories.
Who is that?
I don't know who she is.
Jai Baba.
She's
So,
very Lowman, yeah.
nice meeting all of you. Jai Baba.
So, all right, we'll say thank you, Arsenio, and we'll be back for more stories. Yeah? Will you come
Thank
back?
you.
All right.
Let me know.
Next
Just
month.
let me know.
Okay, I'll be in touch about specific. I think it's next Monday. All right, but we'll be in touch about the date. And
Thank
those are wonderful stories about the Sadra. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right, so let's see, stop recording for
We'll go over now. This is